So we're going to move on with Her Excellency Ambassador Anita Bhatia. Um, she is the Deputy Executive Director, Resource Management and Sustainability and Partners with UN Women. And Ambassador is going to talk about the gender reflection on women issues in a perilous world. Ambassador Bhatia.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody who's joining. It is a great pleasure and honor for me today to be addressing this very important conference of the RUTH Sisters Fellowship International. And I am very inspired by all of the speakers who have gone before me and the words they have said. My friend, Ambassador Victoria Suleimani, I would first like to congratulate you on your very moving speech. It is a hard act to follow, but let me share some reflections on the status of women today. And let me also then urge us all collectively in the spirit of justice and in the spirit of the United Nations to take some very concrete actions that can actually have a meaningful impact and change the lives of women and girls in the world today. We have all heard from previous speakers that we are living in unprecedented and extraordinary times. There has never before been such a severe test of our humanity as this pandemic is imposing on us. And this test, dear ladies and gentlemen, is a test for each of us, rich, poor, Black, white, African, Asian, Indian, American. There is no single person, man or woman, child, who is untouched by this pandemic. And what we see in this pandemic is that women are actually at the center of the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, women are carrying the world on their shoulders in this pandemic. Why do I say that? Because when you look at who is in the front line of health workers, it is women. Did you all know that more than 80% of all the nurses in the world are women? So the highest risk of infection of the pandemic actually sits with women. Even before the pandemic, the burden of unpaid care that was borne by women was 3 times higher than that borne by men. With the pandemic, this has just gone up exponentially. Every one of you has seen for yourselves how it is the woman at home who is taking care of the child, the children's homework, the food, the cooking, the housework. When it is time to go back to work, who is making that sacrifice in terms of who goes back to work? It is women. When you look globally at who is no longer in school, it is girls and boys. But when the world goes back to normal, who is going to go back to school when resources are constrained? Is it going to be the little girl or is it going to be the little boy? It's likely going to be the little boy because families all over the world choose to discriminate against women. And let me now speak about one really important aspect of the pandemic. And that is what we are calling the shadow pandemic of violence against women. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an unprecedented thing that for the first time you have heads of state coming out and speaking about the fact that the rise in violence against women is unacceptable. Why is it that France had to actually go out as a government and rent 20,000 hotel rooms because they knew that without renting those rooms, the women who were being abused would have no place to go? Why is it that the Prime Minister of Australia came out and said, we have a huge rise in violence against women? These are not things that we have seen before. As a result, the United Nations and the Secretary General himself has come out and said, there is a shadow pandemic in the violence against women. I urge you all, and I urge all of us as members of humankind to use our voices to seek justice for women today. We must seek justice for women who are being abused. And each of us has the power to use our individual voices and our collective voices to raise the profile of violence against women and ask that something be done about this once and for all. Ladies and gentlemen, violence against women is a public health crisis also, because when a woman is abused, she cannot work, she cannot be mentally fit, she cannot contribute to an economy, she cannot hold down a job, she cannot do her job as a wife, a mother, a partner. So the fact is that the abuse against women is a violation of a fundamental human right, but it is also good public policy to work for justice and for the rights of women, because only then can they play their fair share in helping economies grow, in helping people prosper, and in helping families and societies become stronger. I want to end on a note of hope. When we look around the world and we look at women's leadership, we see that not only are women at the front line of health work, at the front line of caregiving, but we also see that those countries that have done a good job in dealing with this public health and economic crisis are countries led by women. How is it possible that in New Zealand there are only 9 cases of the coronavirus when in the United States we have lost almost 200,000 lives? How is it possible that Germany has managed to keep this crisis under control? Why is it that there are so few cases of the coronavirus and deaths from the coronavirus in Finland? How is it that Taiwan was able to manage this? It is because all of these countries, ladies and gentlemen, are led by women. So there is something about women's leadership which is very special, and that is what the world needs today. So I pray that we can all pray collectively for the characteristics of and the spread of female leadership. And if there are men leaders, because of course, only 10% of the heads of state worldwide are women, only 10% of the heads of government are women, less than 25% of the ministers of finance in the world are women, less than 25% of parliamentarians in the world are women. So the male leadership is here for us to stay for some time. But let us pray that this male leadership can be influenced by and show the characteristics of wise female leadership, which is collaborative, collegial, empathetic, science-based, and like all women, sensible. So I thank you, my fellow sisters and brothers, for having given me this opportunity. I'm very honored and humbled to have been able to share some thoughts with you today. And I hope that next time we meet, it will be under kinder, gentler circumstances. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that beautiful speech, Ambassador Bhatia. Women are sensible.